While it's now becoming more widely known, fentanyl is one of the main drugs contributing to the opioid overdose crisis. There's a new additive being found in lab tests, Xylazine. Isabel Garcia joins us in the studio after spending several months investigating how the non-opioid is making its way into the illicit drug market. Isabel, let's start with what Xylazine is.
Yes, good evening to you, Teresa. Xylazine has really been around for a while, but it's typically used by veterinarians for euthanizing large animals or other treatments. It's not approved by the FDA for use in humans, and the substance is increasingly being found in other drugs, including the already deadly fentanyl. Over the summer, News 8 was granted access to the Drug Enforcement Agency's Northeast Laboratory in New York City, this to see just how widespread the issue is. Known as the zombie drug, or tranq, the substance Xylazine is causing harm. Often mixed with other deadly illicit drugs like fentanyl, the sedative is being found in increasingly greater overdose deaths. It's essentially a horse tranquilizer and can cause skin-rotting lesions difficult to treat.
Fentanyl is the most addicting drug on the market, but then when you mix in Xylazine, it becomes even more deadly and more devastating.
Frank Tarantino is the special agent in charge with the Drug Enforcement Agency's New York division. He explains Xylazine first appeared as contributing to overdose deaths in the Philadelphia area as drug misuse back in 2006. In 2015, the DEA started to report on the substance being mixed into the drug supply.
Then more recently, we've seen an influx of drug exhibits with Xylazine and fentanyl mixed in together. In fact, roughly 15% of all the drug exhibits analyzed here in our Northeast Regional Laboratory have a mixture of Xylazine in them.
Inside their lab in New York City, we see how the testing is done and what is found. Tarantino showing us what the results yield.
This exhibit here with the Pablo Escobar stamp is heroin and fentanyl. So that's a pretty common mixture that we're seeing across all drugs now, is fentanyl is being mixed in with heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine. This here is 4 kilos of pure Xylazine, which is very concerning considering that bag of 4 kilograms of Xylazine is likely to be mixed in with all these other drugs to include fentanyl, which is exactly what these two exhibits here are, which is Xylazine and fentanyl mixture, which is pretty common among the drug traffickers today.
It's a $500 billion a year business, with suppliers now choosing Xylazine over fentanyl, this because it's cheaper and more available.
We have a number of ongoing investigations here in the New York division that are targeting the 2 most dominant cartels responsible for fueling this epidemic, and that is the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco cartel. Those 2 cartels, working in conjunction with China, are responsible for causing the most harm today in the United States as it relates to fentanyl misuse and abuse, and also with the Xylazine that we're seeing on our city streets.
Earlier this month, U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland announced 8 indictments against China-based chemical manufacturing companies and employees as it relates to disrupting the fentanyl supply chain. Meanwhile, Senator Chuck Schumer is also pushing legislation which would allow President Biden to impose sanctions on countries which produce such products, such as China and Mexico. For now, we'll send things right back to you at the desk.
All right, Isabel, thank you. Also of note, since Xylazine is not an opioid, certain things like Narcan, designed to reverse the effects of an overdose, will not work, we're told. But New York State began giving out free test strips for both fentanyl and Xylazine earlier this year. You can request this through the state's Office of Addiction Services or other community partners locally, such as Trillium.